All right.
Al Capone had a summer home like somewhere's near Holdingford up there, just north of Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't have been that far. And I've heard stories that almost sounded like my grandpa and Al Capone were buddies.
Tell me some.
Well, that's all I remember.
That's
That
all
it
you
sounded like
remember.
that.
Well, darn it. I thought
I'd rather be friends with Al Capone than enemies.
that's true.
Well, there was an old guy that had a. He and his wife had a bar in Richmond that we frequent.
Mm-hmm.
And she did all the work, and he was kind of an old guy, and he sat there drooling most of the time. And once in a while, he'd talk to me. And they were selling moonshine to Capone's crew.
Ooh.
And they'd come with those big black limousines, and the machine gunner sat in the front seat. He said when they drove in, we was real careful. But I think there's a lot of moonshine out of Richmond in that area that went to Chicago.
Hmm.
They had to buy it from someplace.
Yeah.
In fact, the University of Minnesota did a hybrid corn variety that was especially favorable to making whiskey.
Nice.
Minnesota 13, they called it.
Oh yeah, that's there was a book you told me to look for about that, and I was trying so hard to find the Minnesota 13 book, and I couldn't.
And that lady was from up in the Holdingford area someplace that wrote the book. And Holdingford isn't a very big town yet. It was certainly smaller then.
Mm-hmm.
But she said 100% of the people in that town made their living on moonshine.
Nice.
Because what happened is during World War One, that all of the Europe farmland was all bombed out. Those farmers couldn't get out and plant anything. So all those European countries had to come here and buy corn and whatever they needed to feed their people.
Yeah.
So the farm economy was really hot. They were making lots of money. And then in about, 1919 or 1920, then that war ended and those guys could go back out and grow their own food. So they didn't need anything from here anymore.
Oh, bummer.
So then there was like a major depression. The corn price was so low, the only way they could survive and make their payments is to sell it by the gallon.
Sell it by the gallon.
So they grew that Minnesota 13 and sold moonshine.
Why was it called Minnesota 13? That's just a variety of the corn?
That's what they called the corn, and of course they kind of called the moonshine Minnesota 13 also.
Nice.
And that went to Chicago. A touch of it was consumed.
Nice.
In fact, it was so much part of the culture. All those little towns have these huge, very fancy brick churches. And they even sold moonshine in the churches because these guys didn't have any cash. So back then, they kind of assessed each family a certain amount. They called it pew rent.
Oh, for fun.
You pay rent on your pew in church.
Oh my goodness.
And when they had to make that payment, they made it in moonshine. They gave the pastor a jug of moon. Covered their pew rent. And so, of course, the church, in order to have enough money to make a living, they had to sell it.
Kick ass.
And in fact, what's even more fun is, of course, these farmers out there, these backwoods people, they didn't know how to build a moonshine still or to run it. And they have the big school at St. John's where they teach young men to be priests. And there was one of I think they would have called him a brother. They're not quite a priest.
Right.
But he was building the stills.
Nice.
Teaching these guys how to use them.
That rules.
And a couple just very close, just a couple miles down the road there, they the college for the girls who were going to be nuns.
Oh my God, I can't
That was
believe you
at
had to
St. Ben's.
go to college to be a nun. I guess. You gotta learn how to nun sometimes.
I don't know just what's required of them, but they had to get their religious education if nothing else.
I guess.
But Carol's sister is one of those nuns. St.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about her.
We went to, Stan and I had our guitars and we went up there and we entertained the nuns for an afternoon.
Can we put entertained in quotes?